Pick Weekly.
Smith for the win.
Raisi K.
Yo, what's good, everyone? Welcome to the NFL Divisional Round of the 2023-24 playoffs. Hell of a super wild card weekend. Moving games around, so we have the double Monday night. I mean, just honestly, a nice little treat where it felt like football was never going to end last week. Maybe it's because I almost lost every single bet. Maybe that's why I felt like it wouldn't end, but maybe because the best games were actually came down to Monday, right? And the most storylines with the Eagles and stuff. Anything you want to talk about real quick before we get into the divisional? Anything about the teams that lost that you want to talk about real quick before we get into the divisional rounds? Like Eagles.
Teams that we lost. I'm a little upset. I talked myself into Dallas. I thought Green Bay was alive in that game. I came on here and I said it. I talked about it. Aaron Jones loves to play in Green Bay. First touchdown, 2 touchdowns. He went nuts. I'm upset that I got sucked into Dallas. If I didn't have Dallas, I would have went 5-1 last week. Would have had one of the best playoff wild card rounds I would have ever had in my lifetime. Other than that, I did pretty good. I liked the games. I thought they were all pretty good. I think if you were surprised by the Tampa Bay Eagles game, you haven't been watching football the last few weeks. I thought that was pretty straightforward. I wasn't really surprised by anything. I don't know about you. Were you surprised by anything in this first round?
Browns,
I guess maybe how the Browns and maybe just how bad Detroit Dallas lost. Like I thought Green Bay was live. I thought Green Bay could win the game. I didn't expect them to kick the shit out of them like they did.
Yeah, definitely the Dallas game was surprising for me, especially at home. Like versus Green Bay, this was supposed to be the game that Dallas wins at home, and they say, "Oh, look, we're back." But this is a a beat up Green Bay team at home, and then they're gonna get smacked next round. But they didn't even show up the first game, so that was surprising. Cleveland to me, I thought they were going to be live all playoffs, man. What happened to defense wins championships? What happens to defense? Their defense is historic. Their defense sucked last week, so that was a little surprising to me. But let's jump into this first game because you know how I feel about Houston, man. I love Houston, and it was tough for me that Houston and Cleveland played that same, played each other in the first round. But here we are, Texans plus 9.5 at Baltimore. And the slate is shorter. You shouldn't really have 3 best bets out of 4 total games, right? I have one best bet here, and it's Houston. It's Houston plus 9.5. We got Marlon Humphrey out for the Ravens. We have Dalvin Cook coming up to the lineup. They didn't play last week. Houston's on the roll. CJ Stroud is the exact type of quarterback that gives this Ravens defense trouble, right? He is mini Lamar Jackson, as crazy as that sounds. I'd probably take him over Lamar Jackson. And that might sound like overreaction at this point because Lamar Jackson was MVP. But, man, CJ Stroud college was so impressive, and he's been so impressive already to this first year with a rookie coach. Like, we're not putting that into perspective. I love Houston, plus 9.5, best bet of the day. I honestly think they're live. I really would not be shocked at all if Houston wins. And a little foreshadowing here, I can't believe that Houston, Baltimore, and Green Bay, San Francisco is the same exact spread. Like, I will be so shocked if Green Bay were to beat San Francisco. If Houston were to beat Baltimore, I'd be like, yeah, like that's how the season's been going. Houston's just been really good. So, sticking with this first game, Houston money line is live for me, but I love the 9.5.
I can't believe we're starting it off this way. My best bet of the weekend is Baltimore, minus 9.5 at home. Everyone forgets, everyone disrespects these Baltimore Ravens. These guys are just unbelievable. They're the best team in the NFL. They are going to walk to the Super Bowl through Houston and then Kansas City, all at home. CJ Stroud, yeah, he looked great last week against Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns. This ain't Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns. This is on the road at Baltimore in the cold. The purple camo was going to be everywhere. This defense is going to be buzzing. It's just the clock's run out. Houston's had a great season. They've had a great story. This is real football here. This isn't regular season stuff. This isn't they're going to throw 40, 50 points on this team. Baltimore's going to come out here and absolutely destroy these guys. So, like I said, Baltimore, best bet, 9.5. People are running to the gates. That was a quote coming out of Las Vegas today. People are running to the gates like Houston is free money at plus 9.5. 62% of the bets right now, 61% of the money right now on Houston, and Las Vegas is just sitting back saying, you idiots, you dummies, this is exactly how we want to set it up. This is exactly how Las Vegas makes their money. I think Baltimore is going to absolutely kill these guys.
It looks like John Harbaugh is 13-7 against the spread in the playoffs since 2008. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there, but I'm gonna stick with Houston. And rolling into next game, I have the same logic for picking San Francisco as you have for picking Baltimore. Like I'm flip-flopping on this game. It's 9.5 Green Bay at San Francisco. And I almost want to mimic everything you said. San Francisco is the best team in the league, in my opinion. San Francisco is going to walk to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And they're going to absolutely demolish Green Bay. Like, this isn't even a game. And like, honestly, like, I can't believe the public is more towards Green Bay. Nothing about San Francisco tells you they're not going to absolutely railroad Green Bay. Like, just because of last week's Green Bay, because they killed Dallas, now we're getting a little excited. This should be easy. Easy 9.5 San Francisco. They have the best left tackle. They have the best player in Christian McCaffrey. They have playoff experience with Brock Purdy. They have the best tight end in the game. They have the best defense in the game. Like, they have the best coach. And the only thing here, Greg, is there something that I'm missing where Shanahan and LaFleur, is there like a shit, like, there's like that weird circle going on where McVay beats LaFleur. Is there a Shanahan beat Michael LaFleur thing in the circle here? Because that's the only trepidation I have.
Yeah, I mean, the trepidation is not warranted here because Shanahan beats LaFleur. Same.
Okay, so we're good. I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure where we were on the circle.
Rumors are, too, from what I've seen, they don't really like each other too much. They're both out of the offensive guys out of the system. They're both supposed to be offensive geniuses out of the system. It's the Shanahan system, and Michael LaFleur maybe thinks he could do it a little bit better. Hasn't been the case. This is another thing, too. Like, one of my buddies just getting into football. So one of our friends is a Dallas fan. So he's talking about, Dallas, they lose every year in the playoffs. And he's like, what do you mean they lose every year? Like, how can there be these storylines in the NFL where teams change, circumstances change, players change, all these things change, but yet Dallas just loses in the playoffs? I can tell you what, Dallas loses to Green Bay in the playoffs. We've seen that story multiple times. Aaron Rodgers, incredible throw, maybe one of the best throws you'll ever see in the playoffs. So last weekend was all about like, if you like this, go back and watch these highlights or go back and watch these games. One thing that happens in the playoffs is that the Packers beat Dallas, then the Packers lose to San Francisco. And yes, things change. Aaron Rodgers is no longer Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers could not get past San Francisco in the playoffs. I think they've played 3 times. And all 3 times he's lost. Sometimes in San Francisco, sometimes in Green Bay. San Francisco just beats Green Bay 9.5. I'm laying the number here. Makes me a little nervous. I'm laying both numbers with the big time favorites. The 1 seeds coming back. I think people forget about the 1 seeds. I think they're so recency biased on what they saw last weekend.
I agree with
that. To your point, the 53% of the money, 53% of the bets on Green Bay makes no sense. Same thing with Houston. Just like, why are people on this? I think it's because they played last week and they look good. These 1 seeds are going to come into town, just absolutely destroy both these teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree with San Francisco again, but the Baltimore thing, it's just something about them. Like 9.5 point favorites just doesn't smell
their
right.
thing too. Their storyline too is that Lamar Jackson doesn't win the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's their storyline. They don't win the playoffs.
And now they're 9.5.
John Harbaugh's good. Lamar Jackson hasn't been. So
it's just a lot for me. I can see them winning the game by 4. Like this is again. Just I'm sorry to go back. It should be like 5.5 to me.
Yeah,
that spread, and this spread should be 15.5. That's kind of how I was able to pick both these games. Even though they have the crazy spread, but that's a fun Saturday, man.
Yeah,
that's a fun Saturday.
All 4 of these games are awesome. I love this next one coming up.
That's okay. I'm glad you said that because this is probably my least favorite game of the entire slate.
I think it's gonna be fun.
So you think it's gonna be fun? Talk to me about it because it's Tampa Bay +7 or 6.5 at Detroit, and they're 6.5/7, which means, in my opinion, they're begging you to take Tampa Bay. This is an interesting game, man. I think Detroit's obviously better, but the question is, man, are they playoff better? Like last week, everybody's talking about how, the Rams. Detroit's -3. They didn't cover. So it was the Rams. The Rams were the right side last week. Now we have Detroit again, -6.5/-7 at home. They're Greg. Okay, listen. I know we're Jets fans, but wasn't Detroit just a little too happy? Just a little, like it wasn't a miracle on 34th Street that they won that game. Like everyone's acting like, oh my god, this is the best. Like, dude, you just won a playoff game. Like, let's relax a little. It's amazing. It's impressive. But like we all acted like it was a miracle they won.
Kind of
they're favorites.
They haven't done it in 15 years, right?
But they're favorites in the game. So by that same logic, we're favorites here. Everyone's gonna be that impressed that they just win the game. Then that number is crazy, and the 6.5 is crazy. So this is like a hold your nose, don't like it at all. Gonna take Tampa Bay to cover, and we'll see what happens. But if Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans on a contract deal who's dropping passes, and White running the ball, and Todd Bowles, like if that team wins, I would be shocked. Like I'm gonna be like, wow, that is out of left field here.
Yeah, can you imagine Todd Bowles in the NFC Championship game, and like we're sitting on the sidelines, can't even make the playoffs?
That's so bad. That's so
He's
bad.
won the 2 conference championships since he's left the Jets. That'd be tough.
But like in actuality, I do see San Francisco versus Detroit NFC Championship game. I see that. Like I see those red versus blue, old guys versus. What's up?
I could see Green Bay going to Tampa Bay. I could see it
all,
baby.
That would be the worst. That would be the worst case scenario I've ever seen.
Imagine
that would be
Tampa
the worst.
Bay's hosting an NFC Championship game next weekend.
Yeah, I can't. I cannot imagine that. Actually, that's why I see. That's why I see. All I see is red versus blue. San Francisco, Detroit, the best 2 teams in the NFC all year. Right? I mean, that's how it kind of shakes out for me. But I'm taking Tampa. I'm taking Tampa with the spread, just to cover. But I do think it's gonna be Detroit, San Francisco. I'm glad you like that game, though. I mean, you're excited about that game. I'm not yet. I'm getting the underdog to cover and Detroit to win. So in my scenario, actually, it is really exciting, right? Like if my prediction were to happen, but just for some reason, I don't know. All right, last game.
Green Bay plus 3,000, Tampa Bay plus 3,300 to win the Super Bowl. Just saying, you're 2 games away.
Yeah, I think those 2 games are a mountain. I don't think it's a hill. I think it's a mountain to climb.
Easier for Tampa Bay, though. Easier climb for Tampa Bay. Green Bay. I guess it's
easier
half
for
a dozen
Tampa.
either way. Green Bay, if
you
you slay the 49ers this week, then it's like, all right, now we just have to go and beat Tampa Bay or Detroit.
But the same way, if Tampa is able to advance and somehow and they're racing Green Bay, I mean, what a great bet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's like the NBA. Not to get into it, but that's why the third place versus fourth place makes a huge difference because you get to avoid the first place team. So like it just makes a huge difference. Like and that's kind of how it shakes out here too. All right, last game. I'm glad it's the last game. First of all, of the weekend, it's the best game in my opinion. It's Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game. That is the most insane stat I've ever heard in my life. That is really, really impressive. More impressive than them winning in minus 30-degree weather where 15 fans were hospitalized with hypothermia or / frostbite. There's rumors that even Mahomes got frostbite. And some players on the field that like aren't really being reported.
Yep.
That's wild. We were joking around being warm, like, oh, that's so crazy. I'm so happy that wasn't the Jets because I really would have been tempted to go. But minus 30 degrees, that's crazy. I just wonder how they are able to bounce back from that. Like, how do you bounce back from playing at minus 30-degree weather? You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
It's just like your body's probably. I can't imagine how your body feels, this week after that game. On the other hand, we have Buffalo again. People shoveling snow for them. And as crazy as it is in my opinion, for Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes to have their first road game on the road. How crazy is it that the Buffalo Bills are hosting a divisional playoff game, Greg? All because of Kadarius Toney.
Yep.
You know, that
Lateral.
offside that heard around the world actually matters. Like, it's so crazy. Like, we were all like, oh, who cares? This is football. Like, that stupid offsides where they scored a touchdown changed where this game is played, which is a huge advantage, right? And it's +2.5 for Kansas City. It would have been opposite, right? If it was in KC, in my opinion. What do you got in this game, dude? In my opinion, Greg, I think Buffalo deserves it. I think Buffalo this year deserves to get over the trend. They have been resilient all year. They have had the craziest injuries throughout their linebackers, their safety. Everybody's injured for them. And yet, somehow, some way, they figured out. Stephon Diggs, I feel like, didn't catch the ball for nine weeks. And all of a sudden, he's back, right? Like, Josh Allen running for 100 yards felt like. Like, they just feel like they're going to will their way to a win. And I'm telling you, Greg, Kansas City, especially this Kansas City team, is not ready to win a playoff game on the road. And I would say, especially looking at the teams left, this is the number one home field advantage in the playoffs left. The Buffalo Bills at home.
Yeah, them in Detroit, I would say, are right up there 1 and 2. Yeah, to your point, I think it's just interesting that it's Mahomes' first road game with possibly his worst team, possibly going to the hardest place to play in. What is this? Is this the trilogy? Is this the third big time matchup between Kansas City and Buffalo? Is this the rubber match between the two?
There's always controversy, right? Like last year, they made the OT rule.
This is one of the biggest storylines. Again, to my friends that are just tuning in to the NFL, like, go back and watch Kansas City Buffalo last year. Go back and watch Kansas City Buffalo earlier this year. Like, this is the storyline. This is a top tier storyline in the NFL. This is, a Star Wars type trilogy. Like, this is big time, get the popcorn ready type game. That's why it's Sunday night, prime time for the playoffs. I think it's Kansas City all the way. I think Kansas City comes out here +2.5. Patrick Mahomes, I think 8-1-1 as an underdog in his career. +2 points on the road. I love the points, taking it money line. I just think that it's just Buffalo is just too injured. They're too one-dimensional they have to run it with Josh Allen, and that's about it. Yeah, other people are getting involved. Kincaid gets a little involved in the passing game. They get some pass plays here and there, but Josh Allen ends up forcing it. Josh Allen ends up committing turnovers. It's just a story as old as time. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, but unfortunately, I don't think anything really changes too much. I think it's the same story we've seen, and I think all the storylines are going to be, Patrick Mahomes and his Kansas City team going into the playoffs here, going into that divisional round or that championship conference round, one game away from the Super Bowl come next weekend.
I mean, KC versus Ravens, and then San Francisco Lions. Again, top 4 teams all year. Right? I think KC is the only question mark there, and it's good that KC is playing Buffalo because I feel like whoever wins there is the second best team in the AFC.
Yeah,
right? It's just the way it's been working out.
Sure.
So, man, I just really believe that this KC team, the worst KC team we've ever seen with Mahomes. So this is it right here. And they're playing against the Buffalo Bills, who this is not the best team they fielded. However, maybe the best playoff Bills we've seen. Honestly, it might be, except for the overtime, loss last year, which, Greg, would it just be poetic justice if this game goes to overtime? KC being on the road in overtime gets to choose the coin flip.
Yep.
So that's the advantage there. They lose the coin flip. So Buffalo gets the ball, scores a touchdown. Yet now Kansas City has an opportunity to get the ball back because of the Buffalo overtime rule change. Kansas City scores. Kansas City gets a 2-point conversion. Game over. Like, that is the most poetic way for this game to end, for this divisional round to end. So I am excited. I'm that is, if I could take a parlay that way, like somehow do a same game parlay where we have like game goes to overtime. Yes. KC
Yeah.
wins. 2-point conversion by KC. Yes. Like somehow get that parlay
Sure,
to go
some
through.
sports book in Vegas has something like that.
That's what I want, Greg. So I'm gonna roll with Buffalo here. I think they deserve it. They're home. And Buffalo Bills Ravens is a fun AFC Championship game.
Yep.
That's not out of this world. I think the Texans are going to cover. I think Texans could win. But I think it's going to be Ravens, Bills, and I want to see Mark Andrews back for the AFC Championship game. That would be fire. And I think Ravens are going to go to the championship. I think it's going to be Ravens versus the 49ers, just like everyone's been saying all year. The rematch. And we'll talk about that when we get there. But that's kind of how I see it playing out. That's always how it is, Greg. In the NBA and the NFL specifically, the best two teams all season long usually make the championship. Like that's just usually how it is. It's not like that in the MLB. It's usually whoever gets hot. It's almost exact opposite in the NHL. It's like if you sneak in, then you have a chance. If you're like on top of the NHL, you have no chance to make it to the cup. The NBA and the NFL usually shakes out where the best teams from both conferences make the championship. So that rounds it out for me. We have only San Francisco together, which means that Green Bay is going to cover.
Yes.
Otherwise, I have Houston. You got Baltimore. I have Tampa. You have Detroit. That's my hold my nose. And I got the Bills. You got KC. Do you have it? Do you have a teaser or a Hail Mary here? I really don't. I'm just gonna take all four of these teams, ride them together. Tease. I would just take all the points, honestly. if I'm taking a teaser here, but I'm not gonna take a 4-team teaser. You have anything going?
I'm looking at so on FanDuel. I've been scouring this all day long today. There's divisional, there's specials for the divisional round just this weekend, but there's also playoff long specials. So I put 3 in earlier today, and I think I'm going to put 2 more in right now as we're talking. The 3, or maybe 3 more. The 3 I put in earlier today, Christian McCaffrey to record 300 yards in the playoffs, plus 290. Kittle to record 200 receiving yards in the playoffs, plus 300. And Deebo Samuel to record 250 yards, plus 460. So again, with those, you're expecting San Francisco to be around to keep winning. If they don't make the Super Bowl and they still hit their numbers, they do not count. They essentially, I think, have to make the Super Bowl in order for them to be eligible. Some of them were saying it explicitly, some of them weren't. So I'm not sure exactly if it's all of them or if it's just some of them exactly. It's something that's new that I've noticed for the first time on FanDuel this year. I like this. I like these types of bets and stuff like that. I'm definitely going to be doing more of them. The 3 that I'm thinking about now, I wanted your input on. I don't know if I should double down on Deebo. Deebo to record 100 rushing yards is plus 1,500.
Over the rest of the playoffs.
Over the rest of the playoffs. You get 30 yards this game. You're sitting pretty. You got 2 more games to go. You need 60 rushing yards, 70 rushing yards.
Let me ask you a question here. Kind of like, answer your question with another question. What's Deebo's over-under rushing this week? My guess, literally without looking, is 18.5. Like 12.5 or 18.5. Those numbers, that's kind of how his rushing has been all year, his over-under. And he usually either crushes it or he's like right around the number, like right under.
Yes.
That would be my only trepidation with Deebo Samuel, except they are trying to win and they're gonna use all their stops. I don't know. I'm nervous about his rushing. Does he have all-purpose yards, like rushing and receiving?
Not in this. It's just rushing. His rushing is 16.5.
Yeah, it's. I'm telling you, those numbers have always been like that all year out for him because I've always been throwing around his rushing yards as a prop. Like I would always add it, and it would always kill me. He always crushes it, like in the first quarter, or it's tough because Greg, those end around screens that are usually like a loss, like a 6-yard loss is minus 6 yards. Yeah, and it's tough, and like that always happens once or twice a game. So that's my honest opinion about Deebo. I love Deebo, but that's my only like worry. It's not as easy as it sounds.
So I'll scrap that. 2 other ones I'm looking at because that's all heavy 49ers. Again, I think it's gonna be 49ers Ravens in the Super Bowl. So Zay Flowers to record 300 receiving yards is plus 3,700. I think Zay Flowers is number one option. I think San Francisco's going to be able to throw the ball, or 49 or Ravens are going to be
That's
able to
good.
throw the ball.
That's
I
a good
think
one.
Houston is going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Kansas City's probably going to be a high-scoring game, or Buffalo's going to be a high-scoring game.
Let me ask you this. Are there, and this is abstract, are there Isaiah likely over-unders here? Because with Mark Andrews coming back, I'm sure people are excited to bet Mark Andrews. But how much of a decoy is he really just going to be? I mean, he got injured this year. He shouldn't be playing right now. Yet he's back. I still think Isaiah Likely is going to get a lot more involved than we think.
No likely
stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't put it either if I was Vegas, because that might be the winner.
Yeah. So Zay Flower plus 300, and then my final one, Lamar Jackson 4 rushing touchdowns. It's the playoffs. I
like that. What's that number? That's my favorite bet you've set so far.
Plus 5,000.
That being the most is the most interesting thing I've heard. I thought that'd be the least amount. Yeah, because he can get 2 this week easily, and then all you need is 1 a week
for the next 2 games. Yeah,
and if the Ravens are in the Super Bowl, Greg, the logic here is I'm actually going to take this bet, because if the Ravens are in the Super Bowl, the logic is that Lamar Jackson has at least scored 1 rushing touchdown.
Yes,
at least one. But you're banking on 2, right? 1 a game.
Yeah, that's all you
need.
And
then if that's the case, Lamar to score 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl is going to be like plus 300. It's going to be like plus 350,
maybe plus 1,000, but you got to have 5,000.
Yeah. All right. I like that, actually.
The last thing I was looking at here for my true Hail Mary for just this round, and I don't think I'm going to put anything in right now, is just like a cluster of like 4 guys, and it's like 3 of them have to score 2 TDs, something like that, and they're like plus 10,000. So it's like here, let me read one off here. Where did this go? Christian McCaffrey, Gus Edwards, Nico Collins, Travis Kelce.
What do you need? 2 touchdowns out of all those?
Yeah, 3 of those guys have to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I've seen those bets on FanDuel. I feel like they're always a scam. Yeah, but yeah, I don't mind taking those. But
yeah, I'll probably take 1 or 2 of those at $10, $15, $25, and just sit back and relax and hope for Christian McCaffrey and Zay Flowers and George Kittle get 2 touchdowns. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. That wraps it up for the divisional championship round. I can't believe the conference championships are next week, Greg.
It's crazy.
I can't believe the Super Bowl is in 2 weeks after that. Man, there's only 7 football games left.
Disgusting.
And a flag football game in between. That should be fun. Shout out to Jeff Ulbrich, Jets defensive coordinator, coaching the Senior Bowl this year. That's fun. Especially because we're not drafting a defensive player before the 3rd round. So so the Senior Bowl will kind of give us some insight into those later rounds. That's pretty good. We'll see what happens there. Knicks are rolling. Marcus Stroman in the Garden. I have a question, Greg. Completely off topic. College football over. It was so weird when Shohei Ohtani was like reintroduced into LA when he went from the Angels to the Dodgers. Like he's now going to like Lakers games and stuff. It was so weird, as if he hasn't been there for 5 years. And now Marcus Stroman doing the same thing. Marcus Stroman going to the Garden yesterday, getting introduced. He's literally been here for like, I'm so confused. Like, do you have thoughts of that as a Mets fan? Like, they're not doing that for Sevy. I would feel so weird if all of a sudden Severino's getting like treatment around, like, like going to the Islanders game and getting like, a Rangers game getting, hyped. It's just weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked Stroman when he was on the Mets. It just seemed like it ended poorly. It seems like it ends poorly everywhere Stroman goes. So
seems like it's a him thing.
Yeah, I hope hope you guys the best. It's weird like that. To your point, like one, Shohei's weird because it's literally the same town. I mean, you're 30 minutes, 20 minutes away or whatever. Yeah. But also like for him, he left and now he's back in New York. So maybe you do some of that. Sevy's literally just never left. He's just in New York.
Sevy would be like Ohtani, straight up. Like if all of a sudden he's like getting introduced at the U.S. Open because it's in Queens. It's like, I've been here, bro. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm a borough over. Like, what are we doing?
This is weird stuff going on. NBA trade deadline coming. Spicy P just got traded to Indiana. All those Obi fans. I don't know. Obi was the best player in the world all for the last 3 weeks because the Knicks traded him. And now all of a sudden the Pacers put him on the bench and now it's okay. I don't know.
Now
Just weird stuff.
they want to contend, so they have to go out and get a small forward.
yeah, power forward. Oh, he can't play defense. Oh, all right. All right. That's it. Little quick recap of
We're
sports.
trading Grimes. That seems to be hot.
Yeah.
The streets. We're trading Grimes.
So I think being a big Jets fan for so long and like a Knicks fan and like being able to read between the tea leaves, if something comes down the New York Post in the morning, it's propaganda. Like that is literally what it is. So I think the writing's on the wall for Grimes. I think this came out from the New York media, like from the New York Knicks. Through the New York media to kind of get the fan base ready to go. Like somebody like you, Greg, a casual Knicks fan, at the very most, you're a casual Knicks fan. You know about Grimes getting traded or bench shooting guard. Like that's what they wanted. They wanted to put it out there. Now we're over it. It's been 48 hours. And now when we trade Grimes, it's not a big deal because we're not going to get anything of significance back. We're not trading Grimes for a superstar. We're going to trade Grimes for a bench player, and everyone's going to be super mad about it. So here we are. Like that's what's gonna happen with the Knicks.
All right.
I think it could be somebody like Gordon Hayward, to be honest with you, that nobody's talking about. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. I think we just need a backup center, but that's just me. I think all the Knicks need is Andre Drummond, and we're fine.
Yeah.
Everyone else thinks we need like Terry Rozier or Alec Burks or Tim Hardaway Jr. I heard. Ugh, disgusting. Tim Hardaway Jr. comes back to the Knicks in the third time, Greg. I'm gonna have to
so gross. Alec Burks having a nice season in Detroit.
Alec Burks would be nice, but it would be weird trading out Grimes to get Alec Burks back. Like that would be, and Alec Burks on a contract year. Like that would just be a tough pill to swallow. That would be like the most Jets trade of all time. All right. So that wraps it up for a divisional championship round. See you next week. Conference championship. We out. Winning P Weekly Twitter. Let's go Jets, I guess.